Modern agriculture has given us the safest, the most affordable, and the most plentiful food supply in the history of our species. But with our global population growing at current rates, some have estimated that we'll have to produce more food in the next 30 years than we have in the entire history of humanity. The biggest threats to face our species are things like climate change, biodiversity loss, and soil loss. But there is one group of people who can save us from that future: farmers. So I'm on a journey into the future of our food. Oh, miracle! Amazing! To witness for myself what the best and brightest minds are doing.
Everybody wants a fix. Well, the fix is nature itself.
To avert this imminent food security crisis.
We need to start to think now in order to solve the problem that we'll have in the future.
I'll question received wisdom. Why not just get rid of the cows? And interrogate how our food supply chains can respond to unparalleled events like the COVID-19 pandemic.
Technology is going to have an extraordinarily large part to play in the food chain, and I'm really excited about it.
Wow, look at this. So here's what I want to know. If we could radically rethink how we treat our land, what we grow, and how we produce it, if we could not just change our food system, but our whole planet for the better. So far, I've seen how vital farmers are in the fight against the effects of climate change and the innovative things they're doing to protect our staple foods from future threats. But one thing could throw a real spanner in the works. And that's the fact that these essential frontline workers are themselves at a very real risk of dying out. Well, this is beautiful, if in a very bleak way. You know, the average age of a farmer around the world is spiraling ever upwards. And if farms like this are anything to go by, well, the next generation is just nowhere to be seen. There's no kind of hum of machinery, there's no crops, there's no animals. And what really makes this situation that's already sad even sadder is that we need farms like this if the empty shelves that we saw in lockdown aren't just going to become an everyday part of all of our realities. The interrupted supply chains at the outset of the COVID-19 pandemic gave consumers a glimpse of what a future without farmers could look like. And it wasn't a pretty sight. You know, it's an uncomfortable reality that the traditional image of farming is really driving potential new entrants into agriculture, or just running in the opposite direction. It's considered low pay, low status, low skill, and of course, back-breaking work. I want to know how we can encourage the best and brightest of the next generation to help pioneer a revolution in one of the most important aspects of our civilization, and that's keeping us all fed. If anyone is likely to have ideas on how we transform farming's traditional image, then it's a Musk. Hey there, Kimball.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Loving the hat.
Oh, thank you.
Kimball Musk is a food entrepreneur and founder of Square Roots, a high-tech indoor farming project which is aiming to attract a new breed of farmer. So who are this next generation of farmers, in your opinion?
Well, we actually work with them. Our farmers, they range from 18 to 25. Either this is their first job or it is their change of career.
Tell me about what they bring to the industry, because farming is traditionally a legacy business. It's handed across generations. But what you're doing potentially excites people who come from completely different backgrounds. Do they bring anything new or novel to the industry?
You know, that's a great question. The young people are definitely bringing a new and novel approach to farming. If there isn't technology involved, it simply baffles them. They don't even understand why they're in the room. We use everything from iPhone apps to manage the farms, where you can actually manage it from your home. So each young farmer gets their own farm, and they don't have to sit and look at the farm all day long like was done in the old days. That, of course, gives them more personal freedom, but also makes sure their crops are growing well. It is amazing what tech can do.
Tell me what your image is like of the future food system of 2050.
Modern day technology is very scalable. Young farmers are going to be engaged and excited to be part of the solution. By 2050, those young farmers are now older folks, and we're gonna have a whole younger generation, and technology is even going to improve farming even more.
Kimball's vision is an interesting one. Perhaps the current tech revolution in farming has the power to attract new farmers in a way that the stereotyped old-fashioned image just doesn't. So I'm heading to a traditional institution that has started doing some very untraditional things. If you really want to find out what the next generation of farmers has in store for us, well, you've got to go back to uni. This place might be one of the oldest agricultural institutions, but it's really shaking things up in the world of education. With the ag tech industry set to be worth around $22 billion by 2025, Harper Adams University is very much at the front line when it comes to preparing tomorrow's farmers. This is the robotics lab, and somewhere in here is a student called Will, who's a bit of an agricultural prodigy. So many toys to play with. If I only knew what any of them did. You look like the man I'm looking for. Are you mad inventor Will?
I am. Nice to meet you.
Harvest-O-Matic. Tell me what this does.
It's a robotised tennis ball harvester, and it has a camera system on it that should recognise the difference between a golf ball, which represents an unripe fruit, and the tennis ball should represent a ripe fruit. And obviously, for a machine to distinguish between this and harvesting has been the main challenge. And the camera system will recognise the ripe fruit, and if you were travelling along the field, the harvesting cage would harvest tennis ball.
Hey, I'm a botanist and I'm already sold. I want to know this. What else have you got up your sleeve? I want to see some more kits.
We've got some other stuff if you want to come and have a look around.
Absolutely, let's have a look.
Cool.
Will is studying agricultural engineering and was inspired to make robotic prototypes after visiting the lab as a prospective student. And I can see why.
The idea is we can use a laser to zap weeds and kill them instead of using chemicals. And it will recognise the target species to identify.
See, I think this is cool, but have you always thought that farming's cool?
It's fascinating, and we want to encourage more people to, like myself, who didn't grow up on a farm, to come and look at it from a different angle. There's a lot of stereotypes of kind of old guys wandering around in flat caps and old muddy tractors, muddy boots, but this is the real essence of the future of agriculture, with this technology producing better quality food for people all around the world. I can't think of anything more exciting.
It's so encouraging to see how tech is beginning to attract a new breed of farmer. But it would be naive to think that an instant army of tech geeks are about to populate the world's farms and magically feed us all. And frankly, it isn't just an image problem that gets in the way of growing new farmers. Salinas in California is known as the salad bowl of the world, thanks to its agricultural abundance. And there are plenty of people here working in the fields that love the land and still see farming as an aspirational career. That sounds like good news to me in a country where farmers over the age of 65 currently outnumber those under 45. But even though there are willing candidates, there's still huge barriers preventing them from getting started in farming.
We are surrounded by a lot of farm workers, field workers. Majority are Latino. The first barrier that they find is language and social skills to accommodate in California. Second is the land. Land has been already taken for big corporations and companies, so there is no land available.
To help aspiring farmers make the switch from labouring, the Agricultural Land-Based Training Association has an innovative programme of education, including up to 4 years access to subsidised land and resources.
He started with half an acre, and right now we have around 10 first-year farmers that are growing all of this. And even though it's their first year, they already have products, and this product is already producing them some income.
By the end of the program, students could be farming up to 5 acres. One farmer who's about to graduate is Jesus. He's been laboring for 15 years in the fields of California.
Seguir igual en las vegetales para tener más trabajo, darle más trabajo a la gente y tener una mejor vida, un buen futuro para nuestros hijos, hijas. Mi sueño pues es ser más grande, tener más gente trabajando, darle más trabajo a la gente y ver pues ayudar a nuestra propia gente, que vean pues que sí se puede salir adelante.
To me, it's really reassuring to hear that there are loads of people who want to make a career out of agriculture. It's just about reducing some of those barriers to allow them to make a living off the land. As a botanist, I obviously think a lot about the threats that face our crops. But I now want to know, how do we prevent our farmers themselves from the risk of extinction? You think about the average age of a farmer rising and fewer young people getting into agriculture. What can we do about that? Kimball Musk is a food entrepreneur and founder of the Square Roots Indoor Farming Project, a man who firmly believes that embracing radical new ways of farming is key to growing new farmers. Does farming have an image problem?
Well, I think that farming has a very, very bad image problem if you're talking about commodity crops. But if you look at farming indoors in Brooklyn, for example, or in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where we work, that is the opposite. That actually has a very exciting view by young people.
It's definitely the glossy, glamorous face of agriculture. But is that going to feed the world, these high-value crops grown in urban areas?
I think much more so than traditional farming. I mean, the kind of food we will grow in cities is the healthy food. It's arugula, it's kale, it's the kind of food that gives you the nutrition as well as feeds you at the same time. So that's another reason why young farmers are excited about it, because it's food that they can be proud of growing. It's going to have an extraordinarily large part to play in the food chain, and I'm really excited about it.
But don't be fooled into thinking that exciting, alluring tech is limited to just growing hipster food in cool cities. At Harper Adams University, fourth-year student WizKid, Will, wants to show me a project that's been inspiring him. One that combines cutting-edge technology with the potential to grow staple crops at scale. Look at that.
Exciting, isn't it?
It's totally surreal, like a ghost farm.
What excites me about this project is it's so tangible and so real, and it is just normal agricultural equipment equipped with technology. It's nothing special, nothing needed to be custom designed, no special magic Star Trek robots. It's all real.
What excites me about it is how surreal and weird and futuristic it is, but what excites you is the practicality of it.
The question I ask is, why should one man be sitting on one tractor? Why not have one man controlling 3 or 4 of these smaller tractors? It's better for the soil, there's less weight to carry across the field.
Well, all innovation starts with asking good questions, and you need to have people from different backgrounds to ask those difficult, unusual questions. Yeah, should we check it out?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hands-Free Farm is a unique project to create the world's first autonomous farm. On a day like this, the idea that you'd be able to control this whole field from an iPad with a cup of tea indoors is tempting. Leading the research is senior lecturer Kit Franklin. Kit,
Hi James,
man behind the miracle.
Yeah.
What have we got going on here?
So we've just got a seed drill on the back, the autonomous tractor driving, and we're just planting this field with winter beans for next harvest.
And how do you control it?
So simple, press of a button on the tablet.
Amazing. Oh, miracle, amazing. Throughout history, farms have frequently been at the very forefront of technological innovation. And it's so great to see that spirit in action here. And are you actually seeing people from lots of different disciplines, perhaps who would have never considered agriculture as a career, starting to get into it?
Yes, certainly. The publicity we've had around this project alone has generated students coming to open days and interviews and starting on our courses who've seen this and gone, wow, I never thought that agriculture was a thing I could do robotics in. You know, I wanted to be a robotics engineer and I never thought of farming. So, yeah, it's great to make them question what they think is the way that we have to farm.
How important is it to attract the best and brightest minds into agriculture? Because a lot of them seem to be joining, I don't know, coding for social media giants.
I don't think it's important for agriculture, it's important for our society. Ultimately, we need to feed people. We need to feed people in a changing climate. We need to feed people in a growing population. We need the best minds to do that.
Now, this tech might look beautifully simple, but it's the result of all sorts of people from different backgrounds sharing their ideas and getting together in one place to pull off a technological marvel. And to me, it's just so exciting to see the best and brightest being attracted to agriculture as a result. Of course, shiny, futuristic tech is bound to be enticing to some people who might not have previously considered careers in agriculture. However, there's another whole swathe of potential future farmers with the power to transform the food system. But until now, it's been a difficult door for them to prise open. It's been estimated that agricultural yields would rise by almost a third if women had the same access to resources as men. And there'd be 150 million fewer hungry people on the planet. But one project taking place in the coffee fields of Kericho County is beginning to turn the tide. Zedi Chepkemoi is a new generation of farmer.
Growing Women in Coffee is a community-based organization. It is run purely by over 300 women.
Coffee is an important crop in Kenya, but farms are traditionally owned by men, while women work in the fields. But the Growing Women in Coffee project, run by Fairtrade Africa, works with the Kabatuni and Kapkiai coffee cooperatives to try to encourage a redistribution of wealth.
What has been happening is that men would be given the proceeds from coffee, and instead of taking it back at home, they would go out, they will not be seen for several days. When they come back, there is no money. And this was demotivating the source of labor force. The production was coming down. We found out that the easiest way to improve the productivity is going to where there is the gap, and the gap was with the women.
Convincing men to offer some of their coffee bushes to their partners to manage wasn't always a straightforward sell.
It was not an easy task. I want to give a credit to our able cooperative chairman because he did a lot of meetings with our husbands, convincing them to share out the coffee bushes to us. So we started with only 50. But currently, women own coffee bushes up to 300 like I have. They have seen that it is actually changing lives, even in the families.
Women produced almost double the coffee cherries per bush, and ownership meant that for the first time, they could become cooperative members and control the income generated from their plants.
And when the proceeds from the coffee come, they go direct into the women's account. Yeah, so I have my own account. My husband has got his own account. Of course, we sit down and we plan on how we use the money. It has brought a difference to the community, to women especially, because they earn income from their coffee. They can even educate their children, they can clothe them, they can bring food to the table. Yeah.
Kamngetuni is the first of its kind in the country, where we have women participating in the outcome of the society.
But the project was always more than just ownership. It was about developing a legion of skilled, independent female farmers.
Fair Trade has empowered us mostly by doing training on good agricultural practice. We were also trained on leadership and governance. At least we can express ourselves.
And what better way to express themselves than by creating their own coffee blends to sell to the world?
We have branded our own coffee. That is the Zawadi coffee you can see. This one purely belongs to the women.
Meaning gift in Swahili, I think it's the perfect name for something that gives women hope for a future as farmers, not only for themselves, but for their daughters and granddaughters to come.
I'm so happy. Empowering women, I'm so happy. Empower a woman, you empower our whole nation.
In an increasingly unpredictable and ever-changing world, things can feel, well, quite uncertain. But what I've discovered about what the next generation of farmers is up to, coming together from all over the world, bringing new ideas and varied backgrounds together to help us answer some of the greatest questions to face our species, it's just so inspiring. They've got this. And goodness knows, it's nice to have a good news story these days. But what will be the biggest challenges facing these farmers of the future? Next time, I'll look at how climate change is forcing farmers to think radically.
We are arriving to save around 70% of water.
If they don't adapt soon, it may be too late.
We need to start harvesting rain when it comes for times when it doesn't come.